Imagine this. You wake up one day and everything is familiar, your routine, your relationships, your ambitions. Yet something feels off, like you're living a life that isn't yours. You check the mirror, and the face staring back is yours, but the eyes belong to a stranger. You followed the rules. You've met expectations. You've built a life that looks right from the outside. So why does it feel like you're wearing a costume, playing a role written by someone else? Here's the great contradiction. You exist, but do you live? Society tells you life begins with milestones, graduation, career, marriage, success. But what if those are just signposts on a road you never chose? What if the life you've been chasing is a ghost, a shadow of what could be? Think of the moments you felt most alive. Were they when you checked a box someone else gave you? Or when you stumbled into something raw, unexpected, a conversation that shook you, a risk that terrified you, a love or loss that carved you open? Why do we spend years building identities like sandcastles, only to watch the tide of time wash them away? Why do we cling to comfort when it's the uncomfortable truths that set us free? You've been taught to find your purpose, as if it's a hidden object waiting to be discovered. But what if purpose isn't found? What if it's forged in the moments you dare to ask, who am I when no one is watching? Consider this. The most dangerous lie isn't the one told to you. It's the one you tell yourself. I'll be happy when, I'll change someday. This is just how life is. But what if the clock is running and someday never comes? You are a story, but who holds a pen? The tension is real. The doubt is real. And beneath it all, a quiet voice whispers, there's more. This isn't just about happiness. It's about aliveness. It's about the difference between existing as a footnote in someone else's narrative and writing your own epic. So let's ask the forbidden question. What if life doesn't begin when you're born, but when you finally find yourself? And more urgently, why does it take so long to realize you're lost? The answer is closer than you think, and more terrifying. Because to find yourself, you must first admit you've been hiding. You've felt it, that quiet dissonance between who you are and who you're supposed to be. But why? Why does the self feel so elusive, like a reflection that shifts when you try to grasp it? The truth is, you were never meant to find yourself. You were meant to create yourself. From the moment you were born, the world began shaping you. Parents, teachers, culture, all whispering, sometimes shouting, what you should value, who you should become. Carl Jung called this a persona, the mask we wear to fit in. But wear a mask long enough, and the face beneath forgets its own shape. Friedrich Nietzsche warned of this. Become who you are. Not discover, but become. Because the self isn't a buried treasure. It's a fire, forged through choice and friction. Yet most never light the flame. Why? The three great lies that keep you lost. 1. You'll find your purpose. Viktor Frankl, survivor of Auschwitz and author of Man's Search for Meaning, argued that meaning isn't found. It's made. Yet we wait for destiny to tap us on the shoulder, mistaking comfort for fulfillment. 2. You are your thoughts. Modern neuroscience reveals a startling truth. Your brain is a storyteller, spinning narratives to make sense of chaos. But you are not the voice in your head. You are the one who listens. And if you've never questioned that voice, how could you know yourself? 3. Certainty is safety. Society rewards those who follow scripts, career paths, relationships, even rebellions. But as Alan Watts observed, the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Stagnation disguises itself as stability. Here's the deeper wound. You've been taught to fear the wilderness within. Every time you silence intuition to please another, every time you traded curiosity for approval, you buried a piece of yourself. Psychologists call this self-alienation, the slow divorce between who you are and who you pretend to be. But this isn't just personal, it's cultural. Ancient myths spoke of heroes losing themselves in dark forests before claiming their crowns. Yet modern life removes the forests. We're handed maps before we're allowed to wander. No wonder so many wake at 3 a.m., aching for something they can't name. The tragedy? You assume you're broken because you don't fit the mold. But what if the mold was a problem all along? The greatest prison isn't made of walls. It's made of mirrors. Every reflection shows you who you should be, while the real you fades into silence. This is how the cycle perpetuates. 1. The phantom self. You chase achievements, relationships, and possessions, believing they'll fill the void. But like drinking seawater, the more you consume, the thirstier you become. Studies on hedonic adaptation reveal a cruel truth. Humans return to baseline happiness after major life events, positive or negative. Yet we keep running on the treadmill, mistaking motion for direction. 2. The echo chamber of approval. Social media didn't create this hunger, it weaponized it. Every like, comment, and share taps into our primal need for tribal acceptance. But as psychologist Eric warned, modern man thinks he loses something, time, when he does not do things quickly. Yet he does not know what to do with the time he gains, except kill it. We outsource our self-worth to algorithms, then wonder why we feel hollow. 3. The neutralization of passion. Childhood's raw curiosity, the why, behind every observation, gets sanded down into practicality. Educational systems reward compliance over creativity. Corporations incentivize predictability over originality. Gradually, your dreams shrink to fit the available options. Poet Mary Oliver's question pierces through. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Most never answer. The silent toll. Decision fatigue. When every choice is filtered through what they think, willpower erodes. You order from a menu of life instead of cooking your own meal. Emotional atrophy. Numbness sets in. You scroll past tragedies and miracles with equal indifference. The world becomes background noise. The Stockholm Syndrome of the soul. You start defending your cage. It's not so bad, you tell yourself, even as your instincts scream otherwise. But here's what they never told you. Discomfort is the tax on authenticity. The pain of staying numb eventually outweighs the fear of feeling. A 2023 Harvard study found that 72% of participants could not describe their true self without referencing roles, parent, employee, etc. We've conflated identity with function, like mistaking a hammer for a hand. This isn't just philosophical, it's biological. fMRI scans show that when people make choices aligned with their core values, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for self-concept, lights up like a city at night. But when conforming to external expectations, the amygdala, fear center, dominates. Your body knows the truth even when your mind rationalizes. The crisis isn't that we're lost. It's that we build entire civilizations on pretending we're not. The way out begins with a single, terrifying realization. No one is coming to save you. Not a guru, not a soulmate, not some future version of yourself. The prison door was never locked. You were just never taught to push. The 3 acts of rebellion. 1. The death of performed self. Begin with what philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre called radical honesty. The willingness to stare at your own contradictions without flinching. Where have you been lying to yourself? What truths are you avoiding because they would force you to change? This isn't about self-flagellation. It's about holding up a mirror without the filters. As Carl Jung warned, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. 2. The reclamation of attention. Your focus is the brush with which you paint your reality, yet most surrender it daily. Digital colonialism. The average person spends 4+ hours daily on screens, their thoughts colonized by influencers, advertisers, and algorithms. The myth of multitasking. Neuroscience confirms what monks knew centuries ago. Divided attention creates a divided self. Practice attention activism. Spend 30 minutes each morning in input-free space. No podcasts, no music, no scrolling. Let your mind breathe. Observe what thoughts arise when you're not being told what to think. 3. The courage of imperfect action. Viktor Frankl's prisoners who survived longest weren't the most physically strong. They were those who found meaning in the moment, even at just imagining a future conversation about their suffering. Start small, but start sovereign. Say no to something that drains you, even if it disappoints others. Create something only you understand, a poem, a sketch, a midnight dance. Historian Will Durant summarized Aristotle's philosophy as, we are what we repeatedly do, not what we plan to do, not what we pretend to be. Your life is the sum of your smallest, most consistent choices. The alchemy of pain. Every moment of discomfort in this rebellion is transformative. The awkwardness of setting boundaries becomes a foundation of self-respect. The terror of the blank page becomes the birthplace of originality. The loneliness of nonconformity becomes a soil where true connection grows. As philosopher Soren Kierkegaard wrote, the most common form of despair is not being who you are. The rebellion isn't against the world. It's for yourself. Here's the secret no one tells you. You were never lost. That restless ache, that was you. The quiet rebellion beneath the surface, that was you. Even the mask, the carefully constructed persona, was always your creation, proof of your infinite adaptability. The cosmic joke is this. The search for yourself was yourself all along. The revelation in 3 layers. 1. The illusion of separation. Quantum physics and ancient mystics agree. There are no true boundaries in nature. The same stardust that formed galaxies pulses in your veins. When you felt disconnected, it wasn't from life. It was from this knowing. Rumi whispered it 7 centuries ago. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. Your search for meaning wasn't misguided. You were just looking outward when the treasure was buried within. 2. The gift of the dark night. Every moment of existential dread, every is this all there is, was necessary friction, the universe sanding down your false shells. Psychologist James Hollis puts it bluntly, nothing of value happens without the intervention of suffering. Not because pain is virtuous, but because comfort breeds illusions. Your deepest despair was always a birthing room. 3. The eternal now. Neuroscience confirms what Zen masters taught. The past and future are mental constructs. There is only this, the inhale, the keyboard under your fingers, the next thought rising like a wave. Your entire life has been a series of present moments strung together by a story. But who's the storyteller? The grand paradox. You had to feel lost to appreciate being found. You needed the mask to understand authenticity. You required the search to realize there was nowhere to go. This is the punchline of human existence. You are both the sculptor and the clay. Every doubt, every wrong turn, every heartbreak was the raw material of your becoming. The final invitation. At the edge of this realization, words fail. Either you feel it in your bones now, or no explanation will suffice. But if you do, if this truth vibrates in your chest like a struck bell, then you understand. Life didn't begin when you were born. It begins now, not when you find yourself, but when you stop looking away. The mirror was always there. Will you finally meet its gaze?